अस्सलाम वालेकुम मासिल, क्या हाल है? ठीक है, आप खैरियत से हैं?
Hi, Sam, sir. So I'm perfectly fine, and thank you so much for reaching out today. And I hope you're doing great as well.
माय प्लेयर, बल्कि आई अपोलोजाइज फॉर द डिले। ठीक है, आपके साथ काफी देर से जो है ना मीटिंग जो है ना पेंडिंग थी, बट कुछ
No
काम
problem.
की वजह से जो है ना नहीं कर सके। ओके, स्ट्रेट अवे जो है ना वो स्टार्ट करते हैं। मुझे थोड़ा सा बताएं अ लिटिल अबाउट योरसेल्फ एंड व्हाट मोटिवेटेड यू टू गेट दैट हाई स्कोर ऑफ 1520। वाज देयर एनी स्पेसिफिक कॉलेज इन माइंड या क्या एस्पिरेशंस थी?
So, sir, basically, the thing was, I really wanted to push myself and see where I could take myself. Basically, what I wanted to focus on is on data science, right? But I knew that I really needed to make that path smooth. And one of the things that I needed to do for that was to have a good SAT score. So basically, I wanted to go into colleges that really prize a system of liberal arts, the system of liberal arts, right? But the thing was, I really wanted to ensure that it was a good system because it's a really complex system to implement in a whole institution level. So what I wanted to ensure was, I have such a good academic track that allows me to enter into such an institution that knows how to implement this system as best as possible. Because I truly think that that system is much better compared to the conventional system that we have nowadays.
वंडरफुल, वंडरफुल, ठीक हो गया। तो सैट कैसे जो है ना मतलब ठीक है क्रैक किया, क्या जो है ना वो स्ट्रैटेजीज यूज की, एंड व्हाई डिड यू थिंक अच्छा यार इसमें अगर अच्छा स्कोर आ गया ठीक है तो आगे क्या पाथवेज ओपन हो जाएंगे? व्हाट डिड यू हैव इन माइंड? थोड़ा सा मैं जरा आपका जो है ना वो माइंडसेट अंडरस्टैंड करना चाहता हूँ।
Basically, what I had in mind was that for the SAT, I really wanted that I knew that it is something that will open more doors for me because I wanted to ensure that I stood out from the rest of the students. And other than our not usual O and A level grades, etc., I wanted to ensure that there was something that showed that I can still excel academically and other ways as well. Because SAT is something that you have to decide on your own that I'm going to take it and when I'm going to take it and how you're going to plan it. So I
हम्म।
really wanted to show those on the other side who were reading my application that I knew how to plan and manage things myself as well, and I didn't always need didn't always need like some conventional system be implemented in schools because we all know that O and A level decisions can be made by our parents and etc. But I wanted SAT to be my decision, and that's why I really wanted to take the SAT and excel well in it.
वंडरफुल, वंडरफुल। अब आपने बड़ा एक्सप्लिसिटली जो है ना इसको मेंशन कर दिया है, और यहाँ पे बल्कि मैं एक और डिस्कशन भी थोड़ी सी क्विकली करना चाहता हूँ। आपने बड़ा एक इम्पोर्टेंट पॉइंट भी रेज कर दिया है, क्योंकि काफी बच्चे ये भी सोचते हैं कि सैट ऑप्शनल है तो चलें हम जो है ना वो उन कॉलेजेस में स्कोर सेंड करते ही नहीं है। बट ये जो आपने बात की है ना, इट इज वेरी पावरफुल, एंड ये डिबेट भी जो है ना मतलब अब इस तरफ जा रही है कि ओ लेवल हो गया, ए लेवल हो गया, या हाई स्कूल के ग्रेड्स जो है वो बहुत, आप कह लें कि ज्यादा नजर भी आ रहे हैं। ठीक है, आई लिटरली हैव स्टूडेंट्स विद 20 ए स्टार्स, 22 ए स्टार्स। तो इट इज गेटिंग वेरी डिफिकल्ट फॉर कॉलेजेस टू डिसाइड कि अच्छा यार इनको फिर कैसे जो है ना हमने जो है वो कह लें फिल्टर करना है। तो सैट एक ऐसा कंपोनेंट है, ठीक है, जो कि वो रोल प्ले कर रहा है। और जब आपका अच्छा स्कोर हो और ऑब्वियसली बात है आपको सेंड कर रहे हैं, तो आपको डेफिनेटली एक एज जो है ना मिलता है। व्हाट डू यू थिंक अबाउट दैट?
Sir, yes, I fully agree that it really helps in the ones who are going to be looking at your application to decide that if it's another metric that you want to take into account to see whether you actually match up to the standards which the university requires. So even if they're test optional, that's really great because not a lot of people can give the SAT or the ACT. But still, the thing is that if you can, you should definitely go for it. That's something that they want to allow for more inclusivity and diversity. But if you can, you should definitely go for it to help yourself stand out because standardized test scores are really the way to go forward.
या
And I personally felt like they should not be optional because test and standardized test scores are actually the only quantitative method that we can push students. Because thing is like sometimes co-curriculars and etc. Those things are locked behind a lot of paywalls, right? But standardized test scores are something that really bridges the gap between all classes.
I completely agree, and that is the reason Dartmouth has also made it compulsory, and Harvard की भी जो पॉलिसी है वो 2026 के अंदर जो है ना वो सैट मैंडेटरी उन्होंने कर दिया। तो ये चीजें जो है ना वो आहिस्ता आहिस्ता दे आर ऑल्सो रियलाइजिंग कि पेंडेमिक के अंदर उनको थोड़ा सा सैट ऑप्शनल की तरफ जाना पड़ा था, जिसकी वजह से काफी जो है ना मतलब इश्यूज उनको भी आए हैं। And moving forward, my next question, थोड़ा सा मुझे अपनी स्टडी टेक्निक्स एंड स्ट्रैटेजीज के बारे में बताएं, जो कि बच्चे बहुत ज्यादा पूछते हैं कि हाउ डिड यू ब्रेक डाउन योर स्टडी स्केड्यूल? डिड यू हैव एनी डेली वीकली या मंथली गोल्स, ठीक है, दैट केप्ट यू ऑन ट्रैक?
So, sir, basically, what I did was that I wanted to first understand how I'm going to manage my time. And for that, I realized that I need to start using a calendar of some sort because there are a lot of different activities that we do in a day. And so basically, what I started was to track how I was using my time. And for that, I started using Google Calendar first and foremost. And then second of all, I need to break down how I'm going to take my SAT forward. Then for that, first of all, I had to understand what the SAT itself is, because we have, before we like try start executing on something, we have to plan for it first.
Hmm.
So I started studying into what the SAT actually is. And then when I realized that this is the entire format, of course, with the help of our tutorial teachers, our first session was completely focused on how to tackle the SAT itself. Then I started scheduling then that our blue book tests are going to happen on Sundays. So these are the many hours how I'm going to give to the English section. Then these are the many hours I'm going to be focusing on the weak sections in math that I face.
Hmm.
And then I'm going to take the diagnostic test. And then per week we're going to build up to those blue book tests because they're really like few in number. So we really need to maximize how much we utilize them.
Hmm. ठीक है, perfect. There's another question that students ask a lot, और जिसका मुझे आंसर जो है ना अक्सर नहीं मिलता, मैं आपसे पूछ लेता हूँ। वो कहते हैं कि सर कितने नंबर ऑफ आवर्स जो है ना हमें डेली जो है रखने चाहिए SAT के लिए? सो
So sir,
आप
the main thing was that I knew that this would be a huge problem if I took this out at any other time other than my holidays, because the thing is that I really work on a monofocus schedule. So what I wanted was that in my holidays, I made my single and only goal was to get a good SAT score. And then because I knew that trying to quantify the number of hours would be a huge point of anxiety for me, I just decided to give as much time as I could to it, while also obviously making sure that mental health was in a good place as well. But otherwise, I try to dedicate whatever time I could towards studying my SAT for my SAT. Yeah, basically.
नहीं, ठीक है, वेरी गुड पॉइंट, आपने बहुत अच्छा जो है ना आई थिंक सम अप किया है। और यही होता है, ठीक है, मैं बच्चों को यही वाली बात करता हूँ कि इट्स वेरी सब्जेक्टिव, कोई एग्जैक्ट आंसर जो है ना इन चीजों के है नहीं कि अच्छा यार 4 घंटे 5 घंटे पढ़ लो, ठीक है, तो आपका स्कोर आ जाएगा।
Yes,
कोई
sir,
भी
because
बात
it
है,
also depends upon the effort that you're going to give in those 5 hours as well, how quality the hours is going to
ठीक
be.
है। और दूसरा आपने एक और बहुत अच्छी जो है ना बात की कि मेंटल हेल्थ को भी थोड़ा-सा जो है ना वो ध्यान रखना पड़ता है, ठीक है? कि आप यू डोंट गो क्रेज़ी बिकॉज़ मल्टीटास्किंग आपको हाई स्कूल में करनी पड़ती है, सैट है, फिर आपकी एक्स्ट्रा करिकुलर एक्टिविटीज़ भी बच्चे कर रहे होते हैं, फिर आपका जो है ना वो एकेडमिक्स भी आ जाती हैं, तो आई सी स्टूडेंट्स लिटरली गोइंग क्रेज़ी। तो मुझे बहुत अच्छा लगा जो आपने कहा कि आपने जो है ना उसको प्लान इस तरह से किया कि अच्छा यार मैं सोल फोकस अपना जो है ना अभी सैट पे रखता हूँ एंड देन जो है ना वो ठीक है बाकी चीज़ें मैं मैनेज कर लूँगा। तो आई थिंक जो है ना ये आपका एक बहुत अच्छा जो है ना डिसीजन था।
Thank you, sir.
ओके, मूविंग फॉरवर्ड, रिसोर्सेज पे भी बहुत ज्यादा क्वेश्चन आते हैं, तो मुझे बताओ कि व्हाट रिसोर्सेज डिड यू यूज थ्रू आउट योर स्टार्ट जर्नी, ठीक है, कौन सा मटेरियल आपने यूज किया, ट्यूटोरिया के जो रिसोर्सेज थे उन्होंने कितना जो है ना हेल्प किया, और आपने थोड़ा सा जरा मैं डीप जाना चाहूंगा, ठीक है, कि आप अच्छा जो है ना वो प्रैक्टिस टेस्ट करते थे, ठीक है, आप क्लासेस लेते थे, ठीक है, किस तरह से आप जो है ना नोट्स पढ़ते थे, क्या आप बच्चों को जो है ना मतलब बताना चाहोगे?
So the first thing I did was that I knew that this would be the other point of huge anxiety for me. So my first step was to ensure that I had some system alongside, and for that, the first thing that was at the top of my list was to get some coaching as soon as possible. And for that, I had reached out to Tutoria and through my school, Beacon House College program, Georgetown. They luckily had a partnership with Tutoria as well, which reduced our costs. So that was the first step for me to sign up with Tutoria for their July 1st session so that we could give it in August. And then after that, the then after that, all of the independent study came up. So for that, what I did was I first went into all of the SAT related groups on WhatsApp, and then what I did was that the same thing that I did for the SAT, I did for the resources section. I first studied which resources are the best to tackle, and then I realized which resources I'm going to order in terms of priority. So then what I did was I first obviously all of the tutorials resources and the question banks were at the top of my list, and after that what I tried to do was go to utilize any and all resources I could find from Kaplan or the Princeton review as well. So because they're really like substantive resources which have a lot of good questions and concepts. So after class and after reviewing, obviously sir, platform pe bahut kuch hai tutorial ke, but after that I would go to both of these resources for capital and the business review, and I would do any test that they would have on their platform as well. And regarding the test that you mentioned, every day used to be my goal that the first thing when I wake up, I would always go through the flashcards for the English vocabulary section. They would be 50 flashcards for difficult words because there's an app called Anki, ANKI, and
A,
that helps you.
ठीक है, I,
Anki,
okay,
ANKI. So
ठीक,
it's really built around the spaced memorizing system where basically it orders and gives you flashcards, and depending on how much time that you took to answer them, it accordingly spaces out how far along it's going to give you those flashcards back. Basically, if there's a really difficult words like ostentatious and it told you its meaning and the sentence where it can be used, then you commit it to memory and then you tell it, do you feel that it's easy for you or do you feel that it's really hard for you? If it's really hard for you, then it brings the flashcard again to you tomorrow. But if you think it's really easy for you, then it's going to give you that flashcard 3 days later. So that's the cool thing because it automatizes that how spaced it's going to be. If it's going to be more harder, it's going to give you the plain flashcards over and over again. But it's easier, then they're going to be spaced out more because they are less priority.
very,
So I would do the flashcard thing first for 50 flashcards a day for the English section, because the first 5 questions are the English vocabulary section, and in the harder module they can be like really outrageous, the words that they present sometimes. And then after that I will go through a full practice test, but not the ones in the blue book because they were specifically scheduled to happen on Sunday 12 o'clock, and I really wanted to keep them there. But so instead I use Sat Panda. They have a lot of practice tests online as well, and they're based on the same procedure as a usual test is. So I use those as my go-to thing, so that I would have this diagnostic test for every day, so that I knew which things I needed to prioritize for that day. So those were the first two things I would do every day, and then from the results that I had from that diagnostic test, I would then prioritize them accordingly. uh, so basically, what I did was we took the class with Tutoria. Then I would always go through its notes and as well as the short videos that Sarah recorded on the platform, and then I would go through his questions and the test for that same concept or basically the module that we cleared, and then I would use what I learned from the morning as well, the test and what that told me about where I stood.
वंडरफुल। ठीक है, ये आपने बड़े डिटेल जो है ना क्वेश्चन जो है ना आंसर कर दिया। एंड अंकी का मुझे नहीं पता था, ठीक है, डेफिनेटली जो है ना वो दैट एडेड टू माय वोकैबुलरी एज वेल, और मैं बच्चों को भी डेफिनेटली जो है ना वो रेकमेंड करूंगा। इफ यू हैव अ लिंक प्लीज डू शेयर दैट विद
Yeah,
मी।
sure, sir. It's even cooler that they have built-in flashcards. So basically, you just need to install the set for the SAT. They have a specific SAT section one. So you can just install that and it automatically brings in all of the flashcards.
वंडरफुल वंडरफुल, परफेक्ट, ठीक हो गया। नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन, अनदर वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट वन। सैट जो है ना, मैं बच्चों को एक बात करता हूँ कि अबव ऑल, ठीक है, इट टेस्ट योर रेजिलियंस, डिटर्मिनेशन, डिसीजन मेकिंग। मुझे लगता है कि कंटेंट तो आप ओ लेवल में भी पढ़ रहे होते हैं, ए लेवल में भी पढ़ रहे होते हैं, ठीक है, वो आप मैनेज भी कर लेते हैं, बट द सैट जर्नी कैन बी वेरी एग्जॉस्टिंग, इट कैन बी डॉन्टिंग एज वेल। हाउ डिड यू स्टे मोटिवेटेड स्पेशली ड्यूरिंग चैलेंजिंग टाइम्स?
So,
ये
sir, yes, sir, I really understand. That's a really good question. So, the first thing I used to do was that I used to merge together what motivation and habit. Basically, the thing is that motivation is something that's temporary, but discipline is what keeps us going in the long run. So, what I did was that instead I tried to merge them both together. And the first thing I would do every morning was to watch a motivational video. So now it's a habit to watch a motivational video. So now that helped me merge together both what that temporary emotion that would last for that day, but then also make sure that I had that emotion the rest of my days. So then that helped me always put into focus of what mattered most for me and why I was doing what I was doing, so that those motivations were always in their place. And if my mind ever wandered to the question of why, I would always have an answer ready.
परफेक्ट, वेरी नाइस, वेरी नाइस। मैं भी बच्चों को यही बात जो है ना मतलब करता हूँ कि अच्छा यार, एक एक्सट्रिंसिक मोटिवेशन होती है, एक इंट्रिंसिक भी होती है, ठीक है, जो भी चलता है आपके लिए, ठीक है, यू नीड टू वर्क ऑन दैट। जैसे आपने कहा कि अच्छा यार ठीक है, मतलब मुझे एक एक्सटर्नल वीडियो मिल जाती, ठीक है, या मैं उसको देख लूँ तो मुझे जो है ना मतलब आई स्टे मोटिवेटेड, ठीक है। कुछ लोग होते हैं जो कि थोड़ा सा जरा, ठीक है, इंटरनली अपने आप को बूस्ट करते रहते हैं, बट आई थिंक, ठीक है, इट्स अ वेरी गुड सजेशन कि कोई छोटी सी भी चीज आप पकड़ के अपने आप को मोटिवेट कर सकते हैं, ठीक है। आई थिंक जो है ना वो ठीक है, it's very subjective, but wonderful thing that you did. ओके, नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन। मैं जो है ना वो एग्जाम डे पे अब डायरेक्ट आता हूँ। एग्जाम डे की भी एंजाइटी जो है ना बहुत ज्यादा होती है। हाउ डिड यू मैनेज एनी स्ट्रेस और एंजाइटी? एनी टिप्स फॉर फ्यूचर टेस्ट टेकर्स टू स्टे calm and focused?
So, sir, one of the things that happened during my CIE exams was that I forgot my ID card once. Yeah. So then
Okay.
I learned from that experience, obviously, a lot. So the first thing that I had to do was to ensure that I had like a checklist the night before. Actually, I had a checklist a week before because I had to read all of the emails that were coming from the side as well,
Mm,
and the instruction that we had from the Tutoria side as well. So that what we need, what were the things that we needed to take along with us.
mm,
So that was all on the checklist and on my table. That what things do I need so that I would not feel like I had missed anything where I was when I was there, because the main anxiety that I would get was that a push missing to me, right? And I did not want to feel that. So I made sure to have a checklist and made sure to have that checklist right in front of me,
mm,
and always. And then I also try to make sure that I had a backup device as well. If I could take one, you should definitely take it if you have a backup device. So I made sure to charge my laptop. For the anxiety thing, all I had to do was try to take deep breaths when I reached there because the center was a bit far away. So another choice that I had to make was, okay, which center is it going to be, so I don't regret my choice of the center. So what I chose was Trinity School, Trinity High School, which used to be like formerly Shoifat.
mm,
So yeah, I really heard good things about Shoifat, and that's what I chose. So I think it's a really important thing to choose the right center as well,
mm,
because definitely some centers are more supportive than other centers in terms of the technology and the infrastructure that they have. So I would recommend the center that I chose as well. But yeah, to make sure to have a checklist and make sure that you know where you're going. Try to go one day before जहाँ आपका center है,
mm.
and so that you can familiarize yourself in the environment. The same goes for any and all exam centers as well. And also try to choose a good center if that's in your option.
Yeah, बिल्कुल सही है, परफेक्ट। क्या एडवाइस होगी फॉर फ्यूचर टेस्ट टेकर्स? ठीक है, एक तो ये, और दूसरा, ठीक है, लुकिंग बैक, इज देयर एनीथिंग दैट यू वुड हैव डन डिफरेंटली इन योर प्रिपरेशन? अगर जो है ना, इफ यू गो बैक।
Mm-hmm. Let's think about it. Okay. If I would have done anything differently, I would probably have done some math reasoning problems more, because the thing is that there's always this question. Sometimes this question comes up where they give you a lot of variables in the math section, especially in the hard module or end pay. There's going to be this question where there are going to be a lot of variables and they give you a lot of inequality, right? And you just have to sit down there and think about that this value that they're telling me, this value for A, in which inequality that this can lie. ठीक हो गया? So those questions are, in my opinion, the most hardest in SAT ever, because that single question can take you up to like 15 minutes experimenting with Desmos. So I was really hoping that that question does not come up, because in the previous tests, all of the book tests, it had only come up two times, but in my test it came up, and I could not do it. And it was I would definitely have practiced that one more if I knew there's a good chance of that one coming, because that takes a lot of time to just think about the math. You don't have to do the math. There is no math to do. It's just math to think about. That was
ठीक है।
hard.
एक यहीं से मैं बहुत ज्यादा कंटेंट की जो है ना डिटेल में नहीं गया, बिकॉज आई नो कि अगर हम उस पर बात करेंगे तो हम एक पूरा जो है ना हमें पॉडकास्ट उस पर भी करना पड़ेगा। वो हम कोई और टाइम जो है ना रख लेंगे। मुझे ये बताओ कि अब कई बच्चे ये कहते हैं कि रीडिंग हमारे लिए जरा मुश्किल हो जाता है। ठीक है,
Hmm.
मैं उनको अब अक्सर ये कहता हूँ कि अच्छा आप डायरेक्ट राइटिंग पे पहले शिफ्ट कर जाया करो। ठीक है,
Hmm.
आप राइटिंग का पोर्शन पहले कर लो। ठीक है, बिकॉज आप एक सेक्शन के अंदर ठीक है आप कहीं पे भी मूव कर सकते हो,
That's
एंड
right.
देन यू कैन कम बैक टू द रीडिंग पार्ट।
That's right.
और मैथ में एक ग्रिड चल रहा होता है जिसमें इजी क्वेश्चंस आते हैं, फिर मीडियम आते हैं, फिर हार्ड क्वेश्चंस आते हैं। तो मुझे लॉजिस्टिकली स्ट्रक्चरली बताएं, ठीक है, डिड यू फॉलो एनी ऑफ दीज स्ट्रैटेजीज? व्हाट वाज योर स्ट्रैटेजी?
I perfectly understand, and that's a really important thing to have it squared away. In English, there was a standard strategy that what I always had to do was to go to 14th or the 15th question first and foremost, as you had recommended as well, and you were quite definitely right to recommend that, because the thing is that the reading questions can first and foremost take a lot of time sometimes, because you have to reason through and read through, especially the two texts that come in parallel. And the next thing is that you can feel that it's really sapping your confidence, and the confidence is really key during exam taking. So then, because now the exam is now set to test your nerves, and the thing that So the second thing is that I would start with the 14th or the 15th, wherever the first writing question was. Sometimes on the 14th, sometimes the 15th, and then I would take that towards the end, because all to the end is the writing section till the 27th. And then I would go back to the first question and then complete them to the 14th. And another thing to judge whether this I should lead the question or not for now was that I would give it a 1 minute test rule, where I would do this, that I would think about it for 1 minute, because sometimes in math or in English, you know that you're gonna reach the answer, but so yeah, I would check if I knew how to get to the answer. Could I see the path? In 1 minute, if I could not see the path to the answer, then I would leave the question. But but in the 1 minute, if I could at least see the path, then I would keep going on with the question. Because if I just left it thinking that it's taking more than 1 minute, then I would lose the mental track that I built up the first time. So I would just use this rule to see if I was on the right track in the first minute or not.
That's a very very good point. ठीक है, जो आपने अभी कहा है कि and just by looking at the question, अगर आपका थोड़ा सा भी सिलेबस पे कमांड है ना, एक हिंट मिल जाता है, ठीक है, कि yes ठीक है, I can answer this question. और अगर बिल्कुल भी नहीं आ रहा, then you should definitely जो है ना वो move on. ठीक हो गया, wonderful. I think जो है ना it was very productive. I really enjoyed this conversation. पता भी नहीं चला जो है ना मैं 30 minutes हो गए हैं. One last final question. Score तो आ गया है. So how has achieving this SAT score impacted your college plan? कुछ change हुआ है? Motivation बढ़ी है?
Motivation बढ़ी है, definitely, because it has made it a lot more like easier to apply to colleges as well, because I know that even if I don't perform well in one metric, I always have this parameter where I always have this score to put forward to colleges, so that they can at least rethink if they're thinking about rejecting me, that please don't, I can still perform well. That depends on the task as well, because every person has different set of abilities. But also, especially in some schools where like the SAT can be taken as an alternative to the entry test, that's especially really useful as well.
कौन कौन सी यूनिवर्सिटीज में अप्लाई करने का प्लान है?
So basically, in the US, in schools that I'm looking into, especially Amherst and Williams College, because again, the liberal arts system is the first and foremost that I look forward to. But yeah, otherwise there are other options that I'm trying to find.
टॉप लिबरल आर्ट्स के नाम लिए खाली?
जी सर,
टॉप लिबरल आर्ट्स के नाम लिए खाली, ठीक है, थोड़ा सा नीचे भी एम कर ले, ठीक है, जस्ट टू
DePaul, Bowdown and Davidson.
वो इंशाल्लाह वहां पे तो हो जाएगा, ठीक है, बट आई एम डेफिनेटली लुकिंग फॉरवर्ड टू Amherst और Williams. इंशाल्लाह, ठीक है, लेट मी नो इफ यू नीड एनी हेल्प विद दैट, ठीक है. चले, थैंक यू वेरी मच फॉर योर टाइम मासिल, एंड इंशाल्लाह फिर आपसे मुलाकात होती है, ठीक है. टेक केयर buddy. अल्लाह हाफिज.